Today we are talking about powerlessness. We're going to go over all types of things like what is power? What is powerlessness? How does this in our lives? Where do we find this? How can I identify this? What are types of power, types of powerlessness, defining it, everything like that. Stick around, today's gonna be fantastic. Let's go. Let's get started on identifying what is power. Where are we? Why are we talking about this? What's the importance of it? Okay, in the 12 steps there, the first thing we need to do is admit powerlessness over our addiction and that our lives have become unmanageable. Make sure you take a second, hit the like, follow, subscribe button now. So this is one of the first things that we need to do in order to overcome any addiction or problem that we have. It doesn't necessarily need to be addiction. This could be any type of general problem that we may have. We need to admit that we have a problem and there's potential for unmanageability before we even get started. Now, getting into it, what is power?
What is power?
Power, by definition, is the ability to do something or act in a particular way. So some people have power as just poor quality, okay? Or some people have power as faculty. Now, this is the ability to do something. So if you have the ability to do something, then you have power. Doesn't matter if that's a lot of ability or a little bit of ability. If you have the ability, then you have some sort of power. Also, power is being able to act in a particular way, being able to behave in a particular way. What are some examples of power? Let's get into this next. I hear lots of people immediately when I think of power, often I will think of muscles, someone strong. Muscles, if someone has the power of strength, they have the ability to lift heavy weight. They have the ability to lift it for long. They have the ability to flex and have big muscles. To act in a particular way, to act is lifting. That's the action that they may be doing. Somebody who has a lot of money may have some power. So they have the power to, or the ability to do something. So because they have money, they can do whatever they want. What do you want to do? Whatever you want. We have money. They have the ability to act in a certain way. Some people have this thing called fuck you money. Okay? Some people have so much money that they have the freedom to just act in a way that they don't have to listen to you. Somebody could mentally have power. So somebody could be smart and intelligent. They have the ability to recall and retain information quickly and express it in a way that other people can understand. Now, there's different types of intelligence. Some people may have the ability to draw really well, write really well, speak very well. Who knows? There's all different types of power that somebody can have. The quality is what's important. Some people may have low quality power or high quality power. Why are we talking about this? We need to understand the opposite. I like beginning with the opposite and seeing where we can go from there. Drugs, actually, at one point, we believed that drugs gave us power. They're better artists when they smoke pot. Some people believe that they're better drivers when they're drunk, better workers when they're on cocaine. I'm faster when I do Adderall. I'm better, faster, stronger, whatever. When I engage in this drug, I then have the ability to do something. So some people can't dance unless they have alcohol. Some people can't socialize unless they're on drugs. They don't have the ability to do this thing without it. And it makes sense, you know, so somebody may be afraid of public speaking, so they drink a little bit of alcohol and then they go public speak. Makes sense. Alcohol may ease the nerve, literally give someone the ability to speak without having it. They can't speak. Now, this is like Xanax. So Xanax gives people the ability to live life without this anxiety attack, this panic attack. So here are these drugs that are actually giving us the power to do things. It's working in a sense, right? It's doing what it's supposed to do, and eventually we do not admit the powerlessness over it. So eventually this power turns into powerlessness. To be honest, we've never had power over drugs and alcohol. No one in the world of ever history has had power over drugs and alcohol. Eat an eighth of mushrooms and try to keep your pupils from dilating. You can't. You do cocaine and keep your heart from racing. There are actual side effects that we are powerless over, how our body reacts to these things. So admitting that powerlessness in itself is essential, but we believe we have power over it. Because of an increased tolerance, we believe we have the power, the ability to drink. It's like, yeah, you fucking do. And you're abusing that power. You're abusing that right, and you're choosing to drink when you should not be drinking. How does this translate into powerlessness? What is powerless? So if I am powerless over something, by definition is without ability, influence, or power, okay? What happens is our addiction, someone's addiction causes them to not have the ability, influence, or power to overcome this problem in the current moment with things at their disposal. This is not like a immediate thing. People don't admit powerlessness immediately. It generally takes some time where it leads up to trying to control it, trying to have the ability, influence, or power, and eventually it does not work. Drugs removes our ability to do anything. I'm powerless. Once I'm on drugs, I can't pass a drug test. Once I ingest drugs, I do not have the ability to pass a drug test. I'm powerless over that. I have to go through some other ways and means. Let's say somebody does not have the ability to breathe properly because they've been smoking so many cigarettes. Somebody may not have the ability to run. They don't have the ability to act in a particular way because they've eaten so much and they're overweight. As far as addiction goes, we do not have the ability to control the addiction. We lack the ability to control the withdrawals, for instance. I can't act in a particular way because I'm withdrawing. I want to act in a certain way, but I'm sick, so I can't. I want to be able to function at work, but I can't because I'm physically withdrawing. I'm powerless over the withdrawals caused from the drug. It just causes mayhem. It causes unmanageability. I'm unable to control the amount. I say I'm only gonna have one, I have 10. It's like, come on, man. There's so many different ways that we're gonna get all into this. Make sure you stick around to find out what are some examples of powerlessness in our addiction. We're gonna get into it. I no longer have the ability to influence people. At one point, I may have had the ability to influence someone to let me borrow money, to maybe give me a ride somewhere, but eventually that influence is just gone. I can't influence people to believe me. I can't influence people to do things for me. Can't influence people to follow me. It just becomes this unmanageable situation where even when I want help, I can't get the help that I need until I handle this problem. So I do not have the power. So I do not have the ability to behave or act in a certain way. So I may see alcohol and know I shouldn't be drinking it because all I'm gonna do is fall underneath the table, but I do not have the ability to act in a certain way. So I drink it and fall under the table, get so shit-faced, make a fool out of myself. No bueno. Okay. Another example is somebody may not have the ability to behave appropriately when the opportunity to get high presents itself. So when the opportunity for ways and means to get more presents itself, they don't have the ability to finish dinner. I gotta get up and go get it. I don't have the ability to pay attention. I'm nodding out because I'm on the drugs, right? So we don't have the ability to do these things. Once we ingest the drugs, we are powerless over what happens next. It doesn't matter what the drug is. Just admitting this powerlessness is essential to overcoming our addiction. This is a daily reprieve. Every single day I have to admit to myself that I'm an addict and I'm powerless over drugs, or else I may come to believe that I can control it. And now, there's certain things that we're powerless over in general. When you start getting into it, you start making a list of things you're powerless over, you start making sense of it, right? The weather, for instance. Powerless over the weather, okay? I can't control whether it rains or snows or sunshine or cloudy, whatever the case may be. The only thing that I have control over and I have power over is doing the things I can that make going out manageable. Now, I can travel and make it unmanageable, or the rain can prevent me from actually going out and doing the things that I have to do. It makes my life unmanageable, or I could ill prepare for the weather outside and arrive and my life could be unmanageable. Maybe I don't bring an umbrella, so I get soaking wet. Maybe I don't wear the proper footwear, so my feet get cold, or I stub a toe or something, right? So there's all these different instances where we prepare ourselves for the powerlessness and we become proactive. We admit that if I don't do something and do this certain thing, then my life is gonna be fucked up. It's the same idea with addiction. We're just admitting powerlessness over our addiction. And what we're gonna do is today, we just wanna prove to ourselves beyond a reasonable doubt that we in fact are addicts. Understanding what admit is. To admit means to confess to be true or to be the case, typically with reluctance. We are reluctant to admitting these unmanageability and this powerlessness. Somebody doesn't like to say that they can't lift that weight, right? So somebody may say, yeah, you can't lift that, pussy. It's like, I can fucking lift that. And they go try to lift it, they hurt themselves, right? Eating contest, yo, you bet you can't eat more than me. And then they out-eat each other and they put themselves in an unmanageable position where they can't move. We're typically admitting things with reluctance. I don't want to admit this, but I am. That is the case, that is true. And it's a lot easier to just admit powerlessness, because if we don't, our lives become unmanageable. Some of these things that we're powerless over could be weather, people, our thoughts, science, time, effort, good things, bad things, nature. You're powerless literally over everything, unless you declare power. And in the moment right now, whatever we are powerless over, I don't have the ability to do that. I don't have influence on that. I don't have the power to do that. That's fine, dude. Say you don't have money. Say you're not in shape. Say you want to be sober. You want to quit smoking cigarettes. Yeah, perfect. You just got to admit that you got the problem, and then we can move on from there. You know, you're not going to actually seek out help unless you know you have a problem. I don't go to a pizza place looking for an oil change, you know? So if you're here listening to this, then you're trying to help someone, you're trying to help yourself, you're trying to overcome something that you don't have the answer to. So let's see what the answer is. As addicts, we react to the word powerless in a variety of ways. Some of us recognize that a more accurate description of our situation simply could not exist and admit powerlessness with a sense of relief. Others recoil at the word, connecting it with weakness or believing it to indicate some kind of character deficiency. Understanding powerlessness and how admitting our powerlessness is essential to recovery will help us get over any negative feelings we may have about this concept. We are powerless when the driving force in our life is beyond our control. I can't control this. It's beyond me. There is no controlling this. It's raining out. The only thing I can do is prepare and fix what I got going on now. Our addiction certainly qualifies as an uncontrollable driving force. We cannot moderate or control our addiction and compulsive behaviors, even when they are causing us to lose the things that matter most to us. Hey, stop what you're doing right now. Do me a favor, like, follow, subscribe, share, do all that stuff right now. Make sure you comment below what are some videos you want to see. I appreciate you watching. Now let's get back to the video. I can't not steal even though I know it's going to ruin the relationship. I can't not go get high even when I know I'm at work. I can't stop smoking even when I know it's bad for me. I can't stop overeating even though I know I'm gaining more and more weight. I can't stop shooting up in this arm even though I know I got an abscess. I can't stop drinking even though I know my liver's gonna fail. This is powerless. We know what the outcome of these things is and we continue to do it anyways. This driving force, whatever it is beyond our control. Why are we doing this? There's something driving our behavior that is causing us to act this way. And if it is our addiction, then let's figure that the fuck out right now. And this is how we do it right here. We're doing it right now. I can't control my behavior or my drug use, okay? I would say, all right, I'm going to have this and I'm going to save it for later and I'll just do this. No, I would do that. I'd say I'm going to save this in the morning and I'd be doing it at 3 a.m. There's no controlling my drug use. One's too many, 1,000 is never enough. There's no controlling one beer when I can't control it, dude. There is no controlling it when we are in active addiction. And other compulsive behaviors as well. Lying, stealing, cheating, drug dealing, all different types of behaviors that may be associated with the addiction. We are powerless over engaging in those as well. We cannot stop even when to continue would surely result in irreparable damage. Can't stop even though I know that if I get caught for this, I'm going to jail for a long time. I can't stop even smoking cigarettes even though I know it's going to cause me lung cancer. Can't stop drinking even though I know my liver's going to fail. Can't stop getting high even though I know my wife's going to divorce me. We just can't stop. We're powerless. I need to feel this feeling. You don't understand. If I don't, I'm going to get sick. And if I get sick, I'm not going to be able to do any of this stuff. If I don't, I'm not going to be able to think of anything else. The only thing that I can think of if I'm not high is getting high. And then once I'm high, the only thing I can think of is the ways and means of getting more. We find ourselves doing things that we would never do if it weren't for our addiction, things that would make us shudder with shame when we think of them. Some people sell their bodies for drugs or money. Some people like prostitution, things like that. Some people will hang out with people they shouldn't be hanging out with, go to places they shouldn't be going. They know, like, just looking back on these situations, it would make them shudder with shame, just knowing how wrong it was, and I couldn't not do it. That's how bad it was. It makes them shudder, like, ugh, like, what the fuck? We may even decide that we don't want to use, that we're not going to use, and find ourselves unable to stop when the opportunity presents itself. We wake up in the morning and say, I'm not getting high today. I'm not getting high today. And then the opportunity presents itself. We get a text message from friends. Someone leaves their pocketbook out, whatever the case may be. We jump on the opportunity and we get high. That's just what happens. We're powerless over it. When the opportunity presents itself, I can't not do it. I may say I'm not going to get high. And this is just for newcomers, this is for people long term. Sometimes the opportunity just presents itself. It doesn't necessarily need to be with drugs. People may be addicted to work. When the opportunity presents itself for work, they just jump at it. They don't say no. When the opportunity to make money presents itself, they just jump at it. They don't say no. When the opportunity to have sex presents itself, they don't say no. They just jump at the opportunity. And you see how these things can create problems in relationships, in more unmanageable situations in their life. We may have tried to abstain from drugs for some time or compulsive behaviors, perhaps with some success for a period of time, only to find ourselves right back to where we were from our untreated addiction. If we don't do anything, it's just gonna come back. And this isn't just with addiction. This is with like eating, right? So someone who's on a diet, they need to maintain the weight that they lost in order to stay on the diet. They have to sustain it. They need to maintain that work. If we're not maintaining, admitting the powerlessness over our addiction, doing the things that we can to make our life manageable, and rely on these powers greater than ourselves to help us get these things done, then our life is going to get worse and worse and worse. So oftentimes people will do things in addiction that they wouldn't normally do in recovery. As far as think certain thoughts, have belief systems, they may use certain things that they wouldn't normally use, go places, be around people they wouldn't normally be around. When they're acting out on their addiction, instead of focusing on their recovery, they may be sitting around a lot, or they may be super busy. It's really difficult to tell, but just knowing the person needs to identify themselves. For me, things that I've done in my addiction that I wouldn't have done if focusing on recovery include stealing, driving drunk, being around people that are no good to be around. Many examples of things that I did. Now, to maintain my recovery, I did some things that went against all my beliefs and values, and often addicts do. So even though they believe this is wrong, even though they value this relationship, I have to do things that go completely against that just to maintain my recovery, like stealing from my mom. My mom used to say that stealing from her was a part-time job for me, and it literally was, dude. Like, stealing from my mom, I would do it. I knew when she got paid, so I would just wait until she got paid, wait till she fell asleep, and stole from her. And that was just to maintain my addiction. I don't think it's right. I don't believe it's okay to steal from my mom. I value my relationship with my mom, but regardless, I had to do that because I'm powerless over this addiction. People's personalities change when they're acting out on their addiction. They may be a totally happy-go-lucky person, but when that addiction starts acting out, they become irritable, mean-tempered, selfish, dishonest, angry, lethargic, or the opposite. Maybe they get real pepped up, super happy. Personality just changes. You know, immediately, once somebody puts drugs into their body, let's say I have a drink and then I come home and my girl says, have you had a drink? I'm going to have to be dishonest. I'm going to have to say no. And then personality change. So imagine somebody usually happy. Now they're just sitting there frustrated. They're not doing anything because all they're thinking about is getting high. The only thing that they can think about is getting high. We may become manipulative, whiny. So when we're high, we may act a certain way than when we're not high. And then you see eventually the people, when they're high, are who they normally are. And when they are sick, they are this totally different person. So not only do our personalities change when we're high, even personalities change in the pursuit. When we're on our way to get some, people may be happier than they were before. Just knowing the anticipation of the drug is coming may affect someone's personality. And then realizing that they're not getting their dues later, whatever the case may be, can cause someone's personality to change. If the anticipation or the plans change, they may get into a different mood, frustrated. They don't have a take it or leave it type of attitude around the drugs and alcohol. Often people will manipulate. How do we manipulate other people to maintain our addiction? Tell people we need something for something. So I may tell someone I need some money to go do this, and I actually need the money for something else. Borrow my mom's car to go get cigarettes. I'm gone for 2 hours. I may manipulate by comparing my addiction to somebody else's. Oh no, like they're worse than I. At least I'm not as bad as that, right? So the manipulation runs real deep. I know that for me, that manipulation was always blame game, pity party, anger, all these tactics used to make people help me in these situations where I was powerless, instead of just using my own power and abilities, no matter how big or how small, to get me out of these situations. Someone who's addicted and powerless over their addiction may find that they want to quit using and can't. They may set a quit date and find themselves unable to quit. They may try to go to treatment, it doesn't work. They may try to go to meetings, quit on their own, go to therapy, try medication. All these avenues do not work, and they find themselves powerless over their addiction. Oftentimes when people quit using on their own, that third or fourth day is like the really tough day where the detox kicks in, the physical withdrawals are the worst, the mental shame is weighing heavy, and guilt is just weighing heavy on us. And the only thing that we can use to suppress, the only thing that we can do to suppress this feeling and all this shame is drugs. That is so much shame from, we get sober and all these things start coming to our mind. Oh, I did this, I did this. For me, on that third day, I would start contemplating suicide. I would start reading the Bible, and I would always seek out drugs. That third day for me was tough as shit, and it never lasted long, and they were the darkest times of my life. Really feeling as if I couldn't do it, really feeling powerless over this drug and this addiction, thinking it's gonna last forever, just knowing that what's ahead of me is just a ton of shit I gotta clean up, knowing that the only thing on the other side of getting over this sickness is all this fucking work that I have to do to fix my relationships and everything. It's very overwhelming, and I'm used to just getting high before I do things. So when that overwhelmingness comes on, I'm just gonna wanna get high. And it's not gonna be a little bit, because this is so much that I gotta deal with. It's gonna be a lot. And oftentimes my tolerance goes down. So if I use the same as I used before, I could be looking at an overdose. Dude, you try to get sober on your own from alcohol, you could fucking die, dude. Benzodiazepine, people could die from those type of things. So the only thing we need to do is for you is to admit your powerlessness over your addiction. You need to admit that you are powerless. And at one point, we admitted we were powerless and we made our drug use manageable. Like as a 14-year-old kid, I knew that weed was gonna fuck me up, so I'd get weed on Tuesday. I'd call my friends, be like, yo, let's get high Saturday. My friends are going away. And we would plan our management. We admitted our powerlessness over this drug and planned our management because we knew we'd be high. I knew I wouldn't be able to have relationships and yada, yada, yada. So we did that knowing that we were going to be fucked up. What happens is we begin to think that, oh, I can't control it. My tolerance is up. I can get high. And it doesn't work like that. We don't begin to see how the drug is getting in the way. We start blaming other things in order to keep the drug in our life instead of just giving up the drug. So I would see marijuana causing issues in my life, but I'm not giving it up. I'm trying to keep it in my life and blame these other things, not admitting my powerlessness over this drug. Someone who has powerlessness over marijuana, let's say their tolerance increases just showing up. Now, other things that work, this is like cigarette smoking. You're powerless over the smell of the cigarettes. You don't gotta tell me. And this is what happens when we lose our ability to admit powerlessness over these situations. Your powerlessness becomes abundantly clear. You don't need to tell me that you just smoked a cigarette. I can smell it on you. You obviously don't have the power to not smoke. You don't need to tell me that you can't control your heroin use. You're high at the fucking Christmas. You're high at holidays, dude. It's obvious you have a fucking problem, dude. Because we don't admit our powerlessness, we use and lose the ability, influence, and power to act a certain way or behave as faculty and have the ability to do anything. So I can't tell people I'm not high. I can't control the way I look. I think I have power over the way I look, and I don't. Okay. That is powerlessness in a nutshell. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Make sure you take a second, hit the like, follow, subscribe button now. I appreciate it.